Whiskey 61 Lounge. It's Mississippi's only food sports show on the airwaves.
We're the only World Food Championship host in the state.
This is the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds.
All right, you can watch the show right now on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. You can watch it on Facebook. Search Out of Bounds Sports. You can see our new Lane Kiffin bobblehead doll. And the fact that we have the Tennessee Volunteers helmet on the set. That's rare. But with all the dysfunction in Knoxville, we thought that warranted a little love for the UT Vols on our beautiful set. Live in the Bank Plus studio, Bank Plus. It's more than a name, it's a promise. Before we go to our next guest, I have to let you know about Jonesy Q rubs and sauces. His portfolio of rubs and sauces are outstanding. It's award-winning Jonesy Q rubs and sauces. And you can find them at the Y'all Lifestyle Shop in the Township and other supermarkets and grocery stores around the Southeast. Jeff Jones, award-winning Pitmaster, Memphis in May, among other Pitmaster tournaments around the country. He's from the great Mississippi Delta, where so many wonderful chefs and cooks have come from. And on National Popcorn Day, Blake and I recommend Ecstasy Rub. Ecstasy Rub from the Jonesy Q line to shake on your popcorn. It is fantastic. We want to welcome in Mike Detillier, our friend WWL Radio TV New Orleans. Mike joins us on the Parish Canebrake Brewing guest line, and it was a tough one for NOLA over the weekend, but also a time to, celebrate and tip your hat to the GOAT, number 9, and Drew Brees. Mike you know the history of New Orleans, and there's been some great ones. Is Drew Brees the most influential sports figure person that has been a part of the New Orleans scene in the history of New Orleans sports?
Yeah, I don't think there's even a debate. Yeah, I don't think there's a debate at it. He came here, he had options. At that time, he came to New Orleans first for the visit, and he left, which is almost like a recruit. He goes somewhere, and he takes a look around and says, I'm not giving you that commitment. I'm out of here, okay? And he goes to Miami. Now, you think about it, this is early 2006. Louisiana, South Louisiana in particular, and New Orleans is still rebuilding because of the after effects of Katrina and the levee breaks and everything else. And, we had 3 hurricanes that year, not just Katrina. We had a couple more. And this wasn't the most advantageous place to come. And he could have easily went to Miami. And Nick is there now, okay? And looked as though he's got that rolling in Miami at that time. And when he left there, I got a phone call from an agent friend of mine that says, hey, he left Miami too. And I think maybe somebody in the medical staff may have flunked him on that physical because he went through that shoulder surgery, detachment that he had sustained in the final game against Denver. And that's when I thought, he could end up here because I knew how badly Sean wanted him. Sean tried to trade for Tony Romo first, and it didn't work out. Sean was trying to get Romo from the Cowboys, and they just couldn't put the package together to do it. And then turned toward Drew and was able to get him here. Once he was the first piece, a big piece, so to speak. And then I still think, Bo, to be honest, the best coaching job Payton ever did is 06. 28 new players on this team. They went from 3-13 to the NFC Championship game.
Wow.
Think about that year. I mean, they rolled that through all the way until they lost to Chicago, in Chicago, to the Bears. And, Drew has been a huge part of that, and also what he's given back to the community. Because people don't like to talk about it. Got a lot of guys who got money that make it and they take off. They're not part of the community. They don't give squat back, nothing. Okay, and they don't necessarily have to. Hey, you made it, And if you want to give back, that's great. But for some, their deal is, hey, I made my money. I ain't dealing with nothing. It's your issue. I came here as an athlete, and I'm taking off. And Drew has given tremendous back to the community. Really, really has, in every aspect. If for charitable purposes, involved in business deals here, and just a great teammate. I can't think of one guy that has been with him that has said one bad word about him, when he left, so to speak. They all were, man, that work ethic is unbelievable. How he treated me was unbelievable. That he didn't have to do certain things for me, or he would think of an event or something happening in my life, and, he was there. And so that's rare in life. But I'm going to be honest with you. In today's world, that's rare in life. Now, people want to tell you they do all kind of things. Drew has done them. And, again, what he's meant to the city when they really didn't have a lot to hang their hats on. And that was no doubt that the owner of the team at this time, Tom Benson, he had taken a glance that he was trying to get this team out of New Orleans and go to San Antonio. A lot of people don't like to talk about that today because, Mr. Benson's passed away, and, good old Mr. Benson. And listen, he did a lot because he was the guy that saved this team from headed to Jacksonville when Meekum wanted to move it. But after Katrina, he wanted to take off with it too. He wanted to go to San Antonio. The big reason why I think the Saints are still here was Drew Brees. I think he was the magnet, along with Reggie Bush, that sort of brought the fans right back to the Dome. And Kathleen Blanco, who made a controversial decision at that time to sink a lot of money into rebuilding the Superdome when it was being fought by a lot of people. Why you want to rebuild this? And so there's a lot of moving parts with it. Drew, you got you a championship, and I think that's always going to be part of the legacy that
Heck
he was
yeah.
the guy that won you a Super Bowl title. I think people's memory is short, and for some, they react emotional with it. About well, what happened the last 4 years? Okay, he's won 4 NFC titles. It's ended badly for this team, but he brought you to another level of football play. But you can't explain to some people that part about it. It's emotional to them, almost like they own the team. And okay, you invested in the team, so to speak, emotionally. But man, you wouldn't have won all those games, and he wouldn't have given you all those memories. There ain't a lot of guys like that. And I'll never forget Jim Kelly. They were interviewing him a few weeks back, and he was talking about, going to 4 Super Bowls, losing all 4. Went 4 straight, lost all 4. And he said, people would come up to him on the streets afterwards. Because he said, they're a lot nicer when they up close and personal to you than they on social media.
Oh, yeah.
He said, 95% of those social media, big shots that run their mouth, they would never tell you that into your face. But he says, people would, man, Jim, thanks so much, but I sure wish you'd have won one. And, man, it so disappointed me. And he said, I came close a few times to tell him, listen, I don't want to know nothing about your personal life, but tell me what you accomplished professionally. Just give me that lowdown. I'm willing to sit down and listen to it. But he said, you sort of want to, you want to bite your tongue. You don't want to say it. Because then he said, you come off as a jerk. But he said, it came in perspective is when I lose a child, because he had a child with a rare disease who passed away, who was like 8 years old. And he said, then I come up with cancer. And he says, the Bills don't have much success after me and Thurman and Biscuit and all that. We're not there anymore. And he says, it's funny how now the wins were a lot better and the losses all were real close. We had a chance. And so, but that's that's typical fans' reaction to
Sure.
things. And 10 years from now, the reaction to Drew of for people who are always looking for negative. They always, and it doesn't fit their narrative today, okay? One way or another. It's going to be different 10 years from now.
Heck yeah.
Because all I know is the next dude that steps in them moccasins, he ain't going to be as good.
Nope.
Not nearly as good. And are you kidding yourself if you think
Well,
Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston is going to be that type of player? You kidding yourself?
No, they're not. And Mike, you've been you follow this team year round. So Mike Detillier, Saints Insider, on the Parrish Cane Break guest line. How impressed are you, knowing that right now what we had going on in the NFL, Wentz and Peterson not on the same page, Goff and McVay not on the same page, Deshaun Watson and the Texans ownership not on the same page. Aaron Rodgers has had difficulties over the years with some of the Green Bay stuff. I'm sure there were times where they were ticked off at each other, but two super ambitious that have egos, but also extremely talented people like Drew Brees and Sean Payton were able to make it work for 15 years. Your thoughts?
Okay, when I knew enough about Sean and I knew enough about Drew to know that I sort of wondered how that would work. Because both of them are sort of the same person staring at each other in the mirror. But they've been able to make it work. And Sean tells me one time about, we going through different plays. And he said, the verbiage to that sometimes is sort of lengthy. And he says, I would say the first word and then Drew would finish the rest of it. And he said, so, I go to another deal and I said, on this particular play, Drew, let's do this. And he said, I get one word out and he finishes the rest of it. And he said, Mike, I feel like you when you're working with Hebert. You get one word in and he finishes the sentence. Which is really funny and true. But he said it's remarkable how we sort of are on the same page with everything, And he said, it's, they both headstrong. They both want to do things a certain way. But they knew each other were putting themselves in the